Hi, I'm Jane Stevenson. I'm here to give you an update. Clive invited me to give you a report of New Life Home and the babies there that you all have supported so faithfully and so lovingly for 14 years now. I was in Kenya in February, so I got to see the homes right before COVID set in across the world. And we visited the four homes, and every one of them was filled 170 babies. It was such a golden time uh, at the end of our trip. In fact, we were on our going to the airport the next day, and we got a call asking if we could come and receive one more baby. Of course, we implored the Nairobi home to let us get this last baby. And when we got there, there were three. So those three babies, I bring them to you for special greetings today. But once COVID set in, it was times in Kenya got very difficult very fast. One, there was the virus, and then there was the hunger that set in as people were locked into their different neighborhoods. There was the suspicion that often comes with the virus in Kenya because the HIV virus left them so terrorized by what a virus could do. And there was the government really police brutality and in terms of enforcing those the curfews and the things that they did. But all those measures worked, and Kenya's had a very easy time of it relative to many of the European countries and to the U.S. But in those first months, it was the terror really that so impacted the people. And at New Life Home, they started early on stockpiling formula because it's imported and they knew it would get very expensive, and just trying to keep their own baby safe. It's uh, working with unknown babies, babies of unknown origin, as they called it. It can be very stigmatized in Kenya, and at the time of COVID, it was particularly so. And in fact, if a nurse was known to work at a hospital where there was COVID, often her neighbors would shun her and barricade her from coming home and harass her family. So New Life Home had to be very careful not to let their workers be found to be working with children of unknown origins. And they, for the first few weeks, simply laid low, took care of their kids, and then the most unimaginable thing happened in Kenya at a time when nobody even could travel to another neighborhood. Uh, Families started adopting again. I guess that's just like in America. COVID has made us realize how important family was, and these families who couldn't go to another town or stay up past 7, nonetheless came to New Life Home to adopt. When that happened, what they noticed is they had free beds. Um, the unexpected thing was that they could take in new children, but they had no idea how. So they put their heads together and they came up with a plan that had to be done with great care and secrecy. So they asked for volunteers from the home, and they would put together cohorts of anywhere from 4 to 6 um, of the caregivers. And then, as the hospitals called them, which they did daily to tell them about the babies in need, they would match them to a caregiver, and they would secure them in a solitary place, often off campus. And they would have a bed, they would have a Chico burner for cooking and food, and formula for the baby. And they would be in that situation for 14 days without any visits from anybody, without being able to visit their own children at home, and without knowing what the needs of that baby would be. Often they would be quite sick. But after 14 days of the first Nairobi cohort, when they brought them out and test them, tests cost $100, so they didn't test lightly. They were all negative. And after that, the other homes started having their what they call it was sealing the babies into the ark, and they would organize this one-to-one match and seal them into the room they would be in. And then 14 days later, there would be a marvelous celebration. Kenya knows how to celebrate like nobody's business. And when they welcomed the babies, if they had been positive, they would have had to do another 14 days of being sequestered. So when these women signed up for this, they signed up for a possible 28 days of isolation with a child they didn't know, not knowing what was happening back home. And yet they did it because that's what they do. And they rescue babies. Um, I've always known that the women at New Life Home are most loving I know and incredibly courageous. But this summer I saw that courage at a whole new level. And had they done what I thought they should do, simply lay low and wait for COVID to pass, there would be 40 babies uh, who would have actually passed instead. And now those children are growing up. They'll being adopted. Some of them have already been matched, and they will be cared for by loving families until they grow up and they have their own families and they join churches and businesses and become the next generation of our world. Thank you for being a part of it.